Hello. Having realized various truths about life and the superficial ways in which people live in the society, I've lost the reference to the normal way in which people in my own household live. And by watching them live in this disgusting way day in and day out, produces reactions which I am unable to control. How does one keep a reference to truth and the superficial ways in which people around me live so that I don't get constantly harassed in a way?
Truth has nothing to do with looking at others. Truth has nothing to do with how other people act or respond. Truth is internal. Truth is between you and your interiority.
Hi. Firstly, thank you for all of your work. I don't think I can express the depth of my gratitude for it, so I guess I'll just leave it at that and move on to my question. Thank you. I guess my question revolves around my relationship with my parents, and it's not a question completely dissimilar to the last question. Firstly, I'm deeply grateful for what my parents have done for me and what they continue to do for me. But at the same time, I don't even, I have no interest in talking to them. I have no interest in being around them because everything that they do and say is fundamentally untruth. The things that they are interested in. I mean, I guess the most direct way to say it is that they are societal, hook, line, and sinker in every single way. Almost everything that they say is, virtually everything that they say is rife with conditioning. And while I'm deeply grateful for what they've done, the fact that they've raised me, I guess I'm not exactly sure what a peaceful relationship with them would look like, because I don't even really want to talk.
It is very similar to the last question, and I don't think the answer was truly imbibed. Not just the words, but the essence of the answer. And you speak as if they're conditioned, and they're societal, and nobody else is. So according to that logic, then you shouldn't talk to anybody.
The truth is, they're virtually the only people I have contact with, and that's also just because we live in the same household.
Right, and so at the very least, I mean, it is a distraction and it is time waste to try to find truth in others, or to try to expect that others will even have interest in truth. It is not about anyone else. So at the very least, when one associates with the world, one gains pain from the world. And the majority of that pain comes through the exposure to conditioning, which extends and deepens one's own conditioning. But at the very least, your parents have given you something. While I'm sure they have, most parents, create pain as well as benefit. So that's how everyone is. No one is Jesus. So at least you have gotten some benefit from them. They have done much for you. So, as you have stated, so, then that is the realm and that is the lens through which you must view them, as opposed to viewing them as conditioned and societal, and though it may be, then that is the case for every single human being. So in the end, it isn't about if others are societal and others are conditioned, of course, but the greatest elephant in the room is that you are societal and you are conditioned until you no longer are, and that is the focus of one's attention, not upon others being so.
I've read in one of your private, I think, discourses that there are many ways to get rid of the mind, and that when you work with your private clients, that you try to sneak up on the mind. And I was wondering if there is a way to do that without your guidance. Thank you.
Everyone is a human being unto themselves. Everyone has the ability to do whatever they want for themselves. So I don't, I cannot tell you how, because I don't know how. There is no how to it. It's, how does the wind blow? Can you do it without my guidance? Anyone can do anything. So I never say you should come to me or, read what I write, or I go out of my way, and because I don't think anyone needs to be dependent upon me, or, having said that, the conditioning in human beings is so deep. It is so deeply a part of their bloodstream that it is often, it rarely happens that someone does find it on their own. So I have to state both. I have to state that the truth is that one absolutely 100% can do it on their own. It is also the truth that the conditioning is so deep that it is not surprising that almost no one is able to do so on a practical level.
If a person has the DNA and the body mind is ready to some extent, or they've done whatever they could do, then what decides whether the person sees the truth?
I cannot tell you what decides it. Either one does or one doesn't. If it's like anything else, if one has a deep desire for something, then they go off and try to find it. Naturally, they will, because they really want X. If they don't, then they try to find someone to help them. Or they find something they can read that can help them, or they have to get it from, if they don't have to get it from somewhere, but if that desire is deep enough, then they will want to desperately get it from somewhere, whether it is from themselves or from another source. If neither of those things, if one, despite multiple efforts, has not gotten in on their own, it doesn't mean that more efforts won't work. They could, but humans are unserious people. That they call themselves logical, but they're not logical. They don't behave in logical manners. So if someone wants X, this is as basic as it gets. If someone wants X, and they try and try and try, and years go by, and they don't get the X, but they still desire it, then they have to try to get it from a different source through some kind of guidance. If they don't do that, and they aren't able to get it on their own, then all they're left with is their desire, which isn't getting fulfilled. And that's fine too, but that's up to them. The assumption was that the desire is deep and they really want it. So if you're not getting it on your own and you're not getting guidance from it, then everything else is philosophy and chit chat, right? It's just chit chat. It's just talking about it. It's just one day and then asking a question, and then it's all philosophy. it's about getting somewhere. To me, everything's about getting somewhere, whether it's in materialism and money and business and success in that domain, or getting somewhere and finding peace or freedom or the end of conflict, or in those domains, whatever it is. It's completely and utterly up to whatever the person wants. But if you aren't getting it, if you aren't able to do it on your own, and you're not seeking guidance in a serious way, then you're not really serious, and that isn't a crime either. That's not a crime. But then what are you doing?
Hey, Kapil. Um, First of all, thanks for all your writings. They're very insightful. In discovering your writings, I have been able to tap in a lot of truths for myself. However, I find I struggle with prescriptionizing some of your words. And in asking questions about that and, searching deep within where that is concerned, the only solution that has come up for me is to give your writings a break so I can start to discover more within myself, that from a more pure place. Does that make sense? It's something I kind of struggle with wanting to
No,
do. So
that makes sense. That makes sense. Uh, that's fine. Every human being prescriptionizes my words. There's nothing I can do about that. But yeah, whatever your sincere attempt is to stop prescriptionizing, not because it's wrong or bad, just because you want to or have seen the value in it, then your question is, does that make sense? Yes, that makes sense.
Is there a way to act without the mind's permission or the desire, or is there a way to manufacture a desire? Because I, it's evident that whatever I do is just because of desire and because of the environment or the conditioning it is, and I have to uh, go back through the process of Atmaman again and again, um, exposing myself to the truth. I mean, is there a I'm confused, but um, is there a way like I'm panicking, but is there a way like to short? Break out of the circuit of the mind, knowing that it's mind that is bothering me always, and
Yes, the answer to your question is yes, there is. But I think you realize, or I think you understand, that there's no prescribed way. Another way of asking, is there a way, is can it be done? And absolutely. But not through the realm that tradition has taught people, not through the realm of do X or Y or Z. There's no way that way. And then one will ask, well, then what's the way? And when one asks, what's the way? They are asking for an X, Y, and Z. And then when we'll say, well, if I can't ask for X, Y, and Z, then what is the way? And the way is something which emerges. The way is something that is not a defined thing. It is something that happens. It is really for the rarest of people, because, and the reason for that is not because one is special. It's for the rarest of people because the rarest of people are serious. The rarest of people step up to the plate and are willing to do what needs to be done in order to um, be exposed to the truths that are necessary for them to get where they want to go. Those types of humans are virtually non-existent in the world. It isn't a good thing or a bad thing. That's just the state of affairs. And as one of the previous callers talked about, that that person has a desire to, or they feel they have the DNA, and yet there's nothing but chit chat going on, because the person hasn't found it themselves. At the same time, they're not serious about seeking guidance. So that shows you how serious you are. What one does shows one how serious one is. Everyone's a talker. Everyone likes to sound spiritual. Everyone likes to ask questions. No one really comes to the point of, I'm ready to do what needs to be done and understand. And they're just talk. Everyone is basically a poser. Not because they were born that way, not because something's wrong with them, just because the number of human beings on this planet who are actually serious, you can count on one hand.
Hi, Kapil. We've heard a lot about children asking about their parents, and having concerns with their parents. But as a parent, having to educate a child and choose an educational path for a child, what question or what realization did you come to when having to make that choice?
It isn't about me.
It's about the child. I understand. But in the world of Ivy League schools, in the world of SATs and all this other nonsense, it feels that what I have to make a choice for my child. What path or what question or what realization do I need to get to be able to make the right choice?
That's a fair question. It really is about swimming in the current of societal conditioning. And, one has to navigate the notion of what the child wants and will ultimately want. Some, parts of that cannot be known necessarily. So I think one has to move with one's greatest convictions, and not that their convictions are necessarily correct or incorrect. If you swim in the soup of what's the right thing to do, I don't think that one really is able to keep their head above water in swimming in that particular pond. I guess one has to go with whatever their own convictions are. If I'm not mistaken, I think I have a secret writing in the lineup that speaks to some of that last question.
Hi, Kapil. Thanks for doing this. I've been a product designer in tech for about 8 years now, and I've been having trouble understanding if I have a talent for this or not, and whether or not I'm being true to myself about, if this is the career or the craft for me. And I've been, I guess I wanted to ask you for some sort of, if there's, for clarity, or if there's something I'm not understanding about what I do and whether or not how much I like it or not.
No, I mean, I can't tell you that, but the very fact that you're raising the question means that there might be something there to be explored.
Hi, Kapil. Sorry for the delay. Sometimes you say that truth can be achieved through a systematic endeavor or a systematic inquiry. Is that not a prescription?
Is there anything that I say that cannot be prescriptionized? I mean, even that you're going to call a prescription? What's your point? That I shouldn't speak?
No, when you say like systematic endeavor or systematic inquiry is needed for to arrive at the truth, maybe I think that okay, maybe I can do something systematic, because if there is no prescription, I just want to.
But you can you can do something systematic. You can do what you want to do. Like no one has you in handcuffs and putting you, with a gun to your head saying you can't do anything. I mean, no one's telling you that. But that is a universal response that I have, because it's true. I mean, I can't. I'm not going to go against it because it's not. Because just to make it sound different, it's just true. People ask questions. It's kind of like, I give the analogy that people ask the kind of questions that they come on these forums or they whatever it is, and they like they ask questions that are similar to this. Okay, you have 5 seconds. Tell me how I can become great. Okay, like this is stupid, nonsensical questions. Because these kind of questions are entertained and they're supported by the experts who give nonsense answers to nonsensical questions. I don't, because I don't get any interest. I have any interest in doing that. If someone wants to be great, if someone wants to achieve peace or freedom or whatever it is, something these are not small things, and I don't believe in small things. These are not small things. And in order to achieve these are like generational things that virtually no human in the history has ever achieved. So there's no like podcast answer to these kind of questions, and they're fair to ask in terms of one's desire to achieve such things. That's fine. But how can it be that it doesn't require a systematic journey? It requires. I mean, I have clients that we've been going through this for years, and they still have only moved like 5%. Now that's 5% than anyone else has moved, but that's not a competition. But the point is, even after years, while they have gotten X, Y, and Z from it, it requires a systematic journey. That's what we have been on, in a repeated exposure to truth and diving deep into their mind and disassembling all of the conditions, the conditionings, and the poisons that have seeped into their bloodstream. This is serious stuff. I mean, I'm really annoyed by unserious people. I don't like unserious people. They annoy me. I don't think they're worth talking to. They're not. So serious people are worth speaking to. Serious people are worth having a journey with. Everyone, like I said before, everyone's a poser. So how can something, once again, you're an intelligent human being. You're not dumb. Okay. So how can something that is so rarefied not require a systematic journey? Whether it is, like you said, by oneself, perfectly, absolutely, or by seeking guidance. Either way, there's no right with one or wrong with the other. But if neither is happening, that's fine too. But then if neither of those is happening, then the desire must not be there, which is also fine too. But the person states that they do have the desire. So either they're lying, or that the desire isn't great enough. Something's got to give. And having said all of that, nothing is one. There's not even any evil in being a poser. There's no evil in that. That's fine. You can be whatever you want. But how can it not require a systematic journey? How can one possibly expect? Because if someone came on the podcast and they asked, like, okay, you got 5 seconds to tell me how to become a professional athlete and how to become the greatest in the world. Everyone, even the most unserious person, would listen to that and say, what a nonsense question. Everyone would say that. And yet when it comes to these things, because everyone is supported and enabled by the spiritualists who give easy, stupid answers to these things. Oh, do some meditations and mindfulness, because they actually entertain these things. Then the human feels that they are not asking how to become great in 5 seconds. Well, that's exactly what they're asking. In fact, it's way, way more of a systematic journey to achieve peace or freedom than it is to become a professional athlete, or to become a great businessman, or to become rich, or to become. Those are actually more on the materialistic side, on the mechanical, technical side. They're not purely that way, absolutely not. But this is like has nothing to do with that. This is like 10 Everests beyond that. And that's ironic that the spiritualists actually dumb this down as if it's the smallest thing in the world, when it's the biggest thing in the world. And what gives proof to that is even the spiritualists haven't achieved. Those who are prescribing these things haven't achieved anything themselves either, because it doesn't work. So, logically speaking, how can it not require a deep systematic journey? If one has accumulated years and years and decades of conditioning and poison and wrong things, and they've operated their life, and they have set up their entire foundation of their life, the fulcrum of their life, the foundation of their life is based upon things that are not true. I'm not talking about beliefs here and there. I'm talking about the entire daily existence of their life is sitting upon a foundation that is a lie, that is not true. That doesn't require a systematic journey. That just requires some tips and tricks. Really? That doesn't require going into the foundation and breaking apart all the nonsense over years. That doesn't. There's no tips and tricks for that. There's no. There's no prescription for that. So if there was a prescription, then there will be no systematic journey required. Which is exactly where everyone is. Everyone in the entire world is in the prescription land, trying to use prescriptions. They don't even know there's a foundation of lies, right? Humans don't even recognize that their entire life is based upon a foundation of lies, of untruths, of things that are simply not so. They don't even recognize that. They're just seeking more prescriptions, and that makes sense, because when one lives upon a foundation of lies, when one's entire life is structured and sitting upon a foundation of fundamental untruths, that is going to lead to anxiety and fear and conflict and turmoil and disappointment and all these things. And no human wants to feel bad and suffering, and no one wants to feel that way. So they'll do whatever they can. So they'll seek the prescriptions. Why wouldn't they? The alternative would be just to be suffering all the time. And so they're going to do whatever. If a human being is drowning, he's going to do whatever he can to keep his head above water. That makes perfect sense. Why wouldn't he? But I think the fundamental lack of understanding is the fundamental lack of exposure. There's been an exposure to prescriptions and nothing else. There's been no exposure to truth.
Hi, Kapil. Thank you for doing this. I have a question about beliefs, and I don't know how to navigate it and distinct it from truth, I guess. I don't know. But like, I'll just try to take an example. For it. We have these greatest athletes. We have Michael Jordan, who believes that they have to work hard to be, or they have a belief of doing a certain thing to be where they want to be. All of these greats have their own way to get to. They believe that they have to do things in a certain way to get to a place where they want to be. Is this their own truths? Does everyone have their own truths?
That's a fair question. I think if there's a desire to get somewhere, one will do whatever one can. If the desire is sufficiently deep, one will do whatever one can to get to there. They'll use whatever tools they have to get there. And if belief helps them, then so be it. Belief, when I speak about it, really is in the realm of like believing things that are not true. Picking up things from the world and the experts, and then believing them, or siding with a certain faction, or believing in a particular religious institution versus another, and waving that flag and condemning other religions. I mean, so like belief in that sense, that which is internal to oneself, to fulfill one's desire, one uses whatever tools one has. So whatever it is, it is.
Thank you, Kapil, for all the work. It is difficult to put into words all my gratitude I have for your work. For a little bit of context, I've grown up in the knowing of what you speak, and luckily been able to be quite removed from the world and its influence. So growing up, I stayed very deep in my sincere quest. And I've seen a lot of truths ever since I was introduced to your work throughout my own experience. So thank you. In this moment, when I've had a chance to ask a question from you, I've realized that I actually have nothing to ask. All the problems are just daily fires, which in these moments fade away. And while I pursue my craft, my art, I have a clear vision of when it's done, how it looks like, what the arrival looks like. But the need to have it that way ruins the whole journey. Even though every time I arrive to the perfect result, is the lack of looking into this for myself the reason why it still persists?
What persists?
I guess the need, or I once heard you say that perfection is the state of being perfect, while perfectionism is the need to be perfect. And that's something that I try to understand, or while I pursue my craft.
I don't really understand your question.
Mm-hmm. I guess what I want to have is what you have, and while pursuing my sincere quest, having the mind or the anxiety or the need to arrive to the vision or whatever the arrival looks like, kind of ruins the whole journey to get there. Or so I guess I want to have it without the need, you know.
And do you think there's something that I can tell you that'll make you get rid of the need?
No, definitely not. I think that's why I said I guess there's really
And
nothing.
and that's right. I mean, what's going on here is that there's a hole, there's a
Yes.
problem, and you have recognized that there's no prescriptive solution to that problem. But having said that, that doesn't take away the problem. The problem still exists, and therefore you're doing the only thing that you can, which is to express in your own way that the problem exists, not knowing what to do about it, but at the same time knowing that there's no prescription for it. And this is exactly my point. Like everyone makes this point without even realizing they're making it. This is exactly my point. So you have a problem, and you at least have come to the point where you recognize that it seems that there's no prescriptive answer to it. There's no prescriptive solution to it. But having said that, that's fine, but that doesn't take away your problem. And that's exactly why it requires a systematic journey. And a systematic journey is not 5 steps, right? Like I can't even predict what happens in systematic journeys. It's different. It's different with everyone. It's organic, and things arise and disappear, and all these things. What you find when you go deep into someone's mind, it's not predictable. So that's exactly so. Like, where else? There's like that is the only thing left, right? Okay, before one recognizes the futility of prescriptions, they seek prescriptions. Fine, they never get anywhere. And then I'm talking about in non-mechanical, non-technical things. And then they may happen to stumble upon my work and see, that prescriptions, or, that I talk about the futility of prescriptions. And then they might prescriptionize that and say, okay, well, I'm not going to seek prescriptions. Well, that doesn't do anything, because that's just prescription. To read my work and say, oh, he's saying no prescriptions, that also is a prescription. So it's not about that. It's about seeing it for yourself, not believing me. And so then one may realize that, so there are no prescriptions that can help me get out of this. So then one is at the crossroads. One is at a dead end. Okay, to the left, he realizes that, okay, there's no prescriptions. But to the right, he realizes, having said that, my problems are still there. So there's only one thing remaining, and that's a systematic journey to go into the depth of these things in order to address them.
Mm-hmm.
That's all that's left, and just one must do. I'm just saying that's the only serious way. That is for serious people. In fact, that is the only way to arrive at the end of one's. That's the only true solution. And like that isn't even a solution. Like there's not even that isn't a solution in terms of you do this. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But that's the only thing there is. Everything else is swirling muddy water, putting on ointment, putting on band-aids. And while none of that is wrong, one must do whatever they can to get some relief. Sure, I understand. But to seek the end of one's problems, to truly unravel one's problems, that isn't for like I said before, humans aren't walking around thinking like that. They're walking around putting ointment on one's problems forever.
Mm-hmm. I understand.
I do my best to think my question. Can a person even not care that his mind is going like crazy? It's just schizophrenic and it's just constantly talking. Is it possible to even not care?
Yes, yes, it is possible. I mean, things are possible that humans cannot even conceive of. The problem is like, okay, I said that it's possible, right? So what? So what that it's possible? Like, you're not going to like do anything about it. I don't mean to be presumptuous, but you're not. Like, I just, so what? Okay, he said it's possible. Okay, now let's go on with my life. Like, it's just it's Trivial Pursuit. Like, who cares if it's possible or not possible? No one's going to do it. So like, everyone's a poser. I mean,
it's more like I'm trying to come up with a question. Like I'm trying my best.
Why do you want to ask a question? You already asked your question. You already expressed, what your, the issue is.
I'm trying to. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm trying. I don't know. I don't even know where to go. But I don't. Yeah.
I think if someone doesn't know where to go, like there are several things that you could say to human beings that are universal, right? I mean, one of the places to go is like, stop being a poser. And even me having said that, in the very same breath, I want to take it back, because me saying stop being a poser is prescriptive. So that's not going to do anything, So like, what is someone going to say? Oh yeah, you're right, I'm a poser, so I'm going to stop right now. No, it's not going to happen. So human beings are like cement. They're not reachable. They're too lost in their own nonsense. And even that would be fine. The fundamental problem is that they're unserious. That's why they're all posers.
Good day, Kapil. My question is, if I'm unserious and I realize that and I see that as an issue, and I know there is nothing I can do about it, and what kind of question can I put to resolve that? Like, in what way can I approach that?
I think it depends upon the depth of one's pain. If you had red ants crawling on your skin, there is no way that you would be unserious. You wouldn't sit. If you had red ants crawling on your skin, you wouldn't call the experts and say, can you give me 5 steps to get rid of the ants? Now, You might if they were in your house, because then you want them out of your house, but you still have some time. And that wouldn't even be wrong, because that is still to some degree technical and mechanical. But if they're crawling on your skin, you have no time. You have zero time. So you would not be unserious. And the reason that you would not be unserious is because you would have a desperation and a true and deep and unparalleled desire to get rid of those red ants. So the reason that humans are unserious is because they don't like suffering, but then they have been conditioned into believing that if they just practice a bunch of 5 steps, that they can alleviate things. And since that's the only message that they hear, that's gotten into their bone marrow. So they don't really know that anything else is possible.